I think that's a great introduction to what we're about to cover. I'm Adam, and this is one of 3 options that I had, and I liked all 3, but this is the one I was kind of most looking forward to.
Are you choking?
He's trying to recreate the solder card that I opened us up with.
No, but my room is as fucking dry as the desert.
This
I need to get a drink. But yeah, Greg is here.
And I'm Randall, and I am fucking loving this this like 80s Van Deco art.
this art is fantastic.
This is like what you find again. It's like what somebody would have spray painted on their van in the 80s, and I love it.
It's because it's inspired by people like Frank Frazetta, who is most noted for doing the Barsoom series. And
I'm Tech Priest, and I've been reading a lot of Dune lately.
Arrakis,
don't read
Athas, it's all the same.
Don't read past book 1. Just don't. Your mind, it gets weird. It gets really weird.
So we mentioned the great art. Let's show that off to everyone. This is very much Frank Frazetta. This is very much the pulp adventure thing that your dad read as a kid. And it is just a beautiful way to set the tone. I may not be a complete grognard in a lot of ways, but there is something beautiful about 90s and 80s style art in tabletop RPGs.
Because
face the fire of the dark sun, a world ravaged by sorcery.
And that's not like a tagline. That's actually a serious thing that is a problem in the setting.
It's also a really awesome tagline.
It's like you feel like you're gonna watch a great movie, and a guide to campaign set beneath the dark sun.
Speaking of that, well, we had the Black Sun last week through fucking Himmler, so I guess we're on the Dark Sun now.
Yeah. Also, I believe are those like orcish special weapons or something?
Those look like dagger axes, from
they are.
I fucking love dagger axes. They're just so weird and neat.
Do you like the creepy mummy-looking motherfucker overlooking him?
I love him in the back there. He's just like looking there, like, bro, I've got a show and a movie here. Like, I'm just gonna watch this. I got $30 on the guy with 2 axes.
And I think you can see Double Axe's bulge.
No, you can't.
All right,
he's like a He-Man.
He's a Ken doll.
So here's something you'll notice instantly when you go through any AD&D book. When you go through any source material, if you read Birthright, if you read the Player's Handbook, it instantly tells you how to construct a character on the first fucking page.
It's one of the weird things about it, but it's kind of charming at the same time.
It's one of the weirder things about earlier, like, Dungeons & Dragons has always been pretty direct and quick about getting you into building mechanically.
Yeah.
But AD&D in first edition in particular is also really guilty of this. It just drops you right in.
First edition is basically just a war game, though. Like, that's the weird thing about it.
Well, yeah, it started life as chainmail.
Yeah. I should also note that Dark Sun is a book that really only came out because they invented something neat and wanted to make a book around it, which is their mass battle system.
Yep. So they explained how to
form... That's like the thing that nobody remembers about
Dark
Sun.
Yeah, the mass battle system.
This is also known as War World, and you can see in the bottom there, Dark Sun World. That's because that was originally supposed to be War World there. They just were like, well, we can put the new name in.
I'm pulling that thing where I can't see it. Is it just the Dark Sun campaign setting and intelligence?
If you go to the first bit, like on the first page, like the cover, you can see that there's like the word world etched in underneath Dark Sun.
Oh, I didn't see
Oh.
that. That's wow. I've cracked this open a few times and I still missed it.
Yeah,
It's
my
more visible. It's
assumption.
more visible when everything has color.
Yeah, it is, but you can still see it on there. It's really, yeah, because the working title for this book in development, if I remember correctly, was War World.
That sounds about right. It's we'll get into why Athas is a shit show.
Yeah. Speaking of Athas, Arrakis, this definitely takes some inspiration from a certain movie that came out in 1984.
Conan the Barbarian?
Well, that's one of them. Yes.
Yeah, part of it. It was directed by some weirdo who refused to have salad with George Lucas.
He also basically, it's a weird movie.
We're talking about Dune, the 80s movie.
Oh, the David Lynch one.
Yeah.
The one with the leper looking Baron.
The one where the first one was really fucking weird because they tried to. There's a story about the guy that tried to make the first movie, like it was like a
Aronofsky.
French. Yeah, Aronofsky's Dune is basically like this thing where it just
10 years of suffering, and it was just ripped from his hand when it was actually, I think, in a cobbled together work print.
it was, but like the best thing to come out of Aronofsky's Dune was H.R. Geiger, getting his attention from other big artists, which then would lead on to
Big artists. No, Ridley Scott was just some bumbo who made a successful movie, and Dan O'Bannon wrote shit. He was a schlock producer.
No, I mean for like visual guys, so that they kind of tuned it.
Oh yeah, they
tuned them
noticed
into
his
him.
weird art, and they tried to bring him onto Dune, and then
And he
it
did.
floundered.
He did some artwork for it that then would go on to be some of the stuff that would make Alien.
No, that's actually a different thing. I'm a big Alien fan. That's actually entirely based on a previous work he did, series of art prints he did called Necronom.
Anyway, back to Athas.
I was wondering when we can get to the player character races, because what Athas does is it makes all of the standard fantasy races somewhat different.
Yeah. Sorry about the diversions into weird Hollywood stuff.
Yep.
But
And another weird thing about AD&D is that there are certain caps because, well, not all races were created with the same style of play. For example, dwarves cannot go into bard. They can go into cleric for a good distance, but they're capped at a certain level.
Also, they're not very good with dexterity.
We'll get into why. Dwarves are a bit different in this setting. But each of these cases kind of shows you that AD&D is very different from 5th edition and even 3.5.
Also, before anyone asks about what the Mool or the Tri-Crane are, we'll get into that later.
This is where they come from. So dwarves, your average dwarf has beards, not in Athas. They are smooth as the day is long. And they're not grumpy. They actually are obsessed with work.
But there's a picture of it, like on page 5.
There he is.
It's horrible.
That's your Athas dwarf. They are obsessed with completing tasks. They are driven by what are called focuses. It is very difficult to get a dwarf who has set their mind on a focus to change strategy, and it pisses them off because they're very mono-focused.
So
They
they're
even gain
autistic.
bonuses. They also gain bonuses.
I was gonna
to do.
say it, but yeah.
So they're powered by autism.
They are.
Jokes aside, there actually are statistical benefits for this, where you get bonuses for doing them and difficulties if you try and go away.
And here's something interesting. Dwarves' commitments to their focus is actually based in their physiology. If they die before their work is complete, they rise from the dead as banshees, haunting their unfinished works because they're that obsessed with completing it.
Why not?
And by nature, they don't use magic. They never use magical spells. It does not apply to clerics. And they're so monofocused and, well, autistic They mostly just see the party members in terms of how they can complete their focus, their great work, their magnum opus.
What, friends? What are those?
No, they know what friends are, but do they allow me to finish my goal? No? Well, they can go screw off. Very commonly used in gladiatorial and slave pits because they're very stubborn and enduring.
I mean, they have to survive these fights if they're going to finish their task.
Yeah. As
And
for
then,
elves, they're different too.
to a degree,
Yeah, they're
They're desert nomads.
we're also really fucking tall.
Yep, they stand between 6.5 to 7.5 feet. They are masters of self-reliance. They are all survivalists. And they're also known for their mercantile ability. And they're also Ooga Booga savages.
so there are desert nomad people.
They're closest in tone to the Fremen.
Yeah, I was going to say like, they're a lot like the Fremen, but we don't have the. They're not riding the worms, which I'm a little bit like, oh.
And here's actually an elf running among the deserts being chased. Just to give you an idea of their
I'm not sure
kind
if they're
of.
being chased or if there's like just a
There's
group of
little
people like, hey,
Jawa
look, an elf.
motherfuckers, yeah.
Look, there's an elf there.
I also like that he has a domino mask on.
He
Yeah,
does.
they're known
It's
for
It's
banditry.
Zoro.
They're very
They
known
also
for
hate-
banditry.
They also hate everyone outside of their tribe, and they will never ride on a horse.
Yep.
They don't need it. And they're the half elves, you know, the ones everyone's favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes these happen.
And nobody likes them.
Yeah, they're disliked by all because of their breeding.
Especially elves.
Elves
Elves
are
don't.
extremely xenophobic in this setting, like
Right.
more so than normal.
They don't get a lot of the benefits that the Elvish race gets,
The
but they
difference
get
is
some bonuses.
AD&D makes them somewhat less shit.
Yeah,
They get a
But
little
they-
bit extra benefits, and unlike most of the races in Athas, they actually can access most classes.
Also, considering everyone hates them, they're pretty used to surviving on their own.
They also get a pet.
Yep.
That's an interesting detail.
And then they're the big boys.
Half giants, baby. These are a playable race in Dark Sun.
This poor motherfucker.
10 to 12 feet.
Yep, and just way just shy of a ton. And they can be
They're not-
psionic, by the way. Keep that in mind.
They're not fun to fight.
Oh
Head
no,
on.
no.
I'm just imagining a psionic one. I'm just like, oh shit. That sounds absolutely horrifying.
They seem to be a fairly young race, and it's actually rumored that they were created by dark sorcery.
Also, they're really fucking stupid.
Yeah, they're
They-
not the brightest of boys.
They also have multiple alignments. What?
The way giants work is they are so suggestible that they adopt their mores and beliefs on the communities around them.
Oh my
So
god.
if a kind farmer settlement gets taken by chaotic evil bandits, you can have like a neutral good giant instantly turn chaotic evil.
It does give a bit more thing here, and that it's more accurate to say they tend to have one fixed part of their alignment, but the other part is up to suggestion.
So
Neutral evil.
Yeah. So, for instance, as it gives the example, this
lawful,
giant
neutral, so you could fix evil.
Or if you want to say that this is a true neutral giant, he just he slides to lawful neutral or chaotic neutral.
It's a very
Morality.
interesting mechanic. Their morality is so loose that it just slides.
Well, hilariously, you could do it, I guess, to where the giants. If you're playing a half giant, you're the odd one out alignment wise. You could slide your morality to fit whatever the rest of the party is,
Yep, that's actually an interesting gimmick that they have.
because you hang out with them so much. You
And-
start to adopt their mannerisms.
Well, not only that, but lore-wise, it would make sense that you kind of just shove that way. And unlike other cases where you change alignment, you don't get punished for it.
Yeah.
You don't lose EXP for doing that. Halflings are fun. They're also Ooga Booga, but
They're communists.
They're a
sort
bit
of?
communist, but also, fun fact, they're responsible partially for why the world is shit, at least in later metaplot reasons.
Oh no.
Maybe that's why everyone wants to kill.
You
Oh god.
fucked up, Frodo.
Well, in this case, it's more like the Frodo was angry that because they were originally the ruling race upon Athas, and their efforts to try to reclaim that kind of really fucked things up.
Also, I just need to say this
Manliness.
here.
When will they ever learn?
I just need to say this. They are muscled and proportioned like humans, but the faces of wise and beautiful children.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Sounds creepy as fuck.
yeah.
I want you to imagine like a 12-year-old's, maybe, or even like an 8-year-old's face on like a very short and apparently
Jacked like
muscular body.
bodybuilder, like those horrible edits of like putting like shitloads of muscles on kids.
And
yes,
then we
they're
have,
desert commies.
and then we move into humans and that art that it looks
Very
like
Frank
a less
Frazetta.
terrible. I was gonna, yeah. For some reason, I was saying that looks like a less terrible Liefeld. Very, if
It's
Liefeld was good
Liefeld
at
in a
drawing.
nutshell.
Yeah, if Liefeld was good at drawing.
Shoulder and hip ratio is fucked. The ribs are Liefeld-esque. The arms are too short for the body. But yeah, humans are the predominant race on Athas, obviously, and humans are humans.
There's not much more to say.
Then there's these dudes.
These guys, the mule. See,
How the fuck are they 6'1.5"?
see,
They come from dwarves. Jesus.
here's the thing. Half-dwarves do exist in two settings. Dark Sun and Kingdoms of Kalamar. Dark Sun has them as they're called mule for a reason. They're completely sterile. And the best way to explain it is the dwarves' musculature is stacked upon a human frame, and that's why they get so big.
Also,
Dwarves are compact, and it unwinds it. That's an
orcish
orcish double axe.
How the fuck is that gonna work?
Wait, that's what a double axe is.
I
this
think
whole
that's
time?
what an orcish double axe is, yeah.
I have never imagined it to look like that.
I thought it had a head on the other side myself, so it's nice to know, though.
Well, no, I think that's supposed to be like made out of a pelvis
I don't know.
Maybe.
bone.
I kind of like how he has a Persian's face, because brachiocephaly is the worst thing ever.
Also, actually, if you're a bit more familiar with the later editions, you can see the beginnings of what is probably the Goliaths in these guys.
Yep. Now, mules are, because this setting is written way back in the olden days, and it's written in the style of sword fantasy, they're a slave race, as I've mentioned.
They're literally mules.
Yeah.
They're not a natural thing.
Literally, yeah, they're not natural, and they're often used in fight pits or just for raw labor.
So this is your Conan. Okay.
And they actually have like an internal rage, if I remember right. And this is also the setting that introduces the Thrycreen. So if you ever want to play a Bugman,
Oh wait. Oh, actually, we missed one thing. The mule extortion table.
Yeah.
They
Medium
literally
labor.
have that. There's like a literal table to determine how long you can work these guys before they start dropping dead.
So if you ever wanted to be the evil tyrant dictator in your desert nightmare hole, here's your horror table here to use.
But note that they can at least work an entire day before even having to at the very least before we even go into their con.
Yeah.
They can travel for
And that's
con
hard
days.
labor.
Just normally. That's pretty.
They don't need to sleep that much. Yeah.
Jeez.
Basically, a mule is what happens when you unwind a dwarf's structure and basically exploit the hell out of their obsession.
And determination. They carry some of that over.
Yeah. That's why they're treated as a slave race. That's why they're so often used in that.
Oh, also, this is another thing, just going back to A&D stuff. Only certain races are even allowed to go out to multi-class.
Yeah. And
as
to
a
AD&D.
humanoid, And as demi-humans, mules actually are allowed to to multi-class.
Yep, half-elves can too. That's why they have more flexible ability, unlike certain races.
The next race definitely does not get that.
Thri-kreen, the Diopsid often makes a running gag that Diopsids don't like them, but basically these are the bugmen that you usually think of. And they come from here.
They're the cuck mantises from UFO abductions.
Oh, they're the David Huckins manti. Yeah,
Yeah, they are. They basically are.
Oh my god.
Also,
If you don't know, slight tangent. Watch the man. God, I can't remember the man
Love
who
and
paints
Saucers?
UFOs. Love and Saucers. It's a fantastic documentary. I feel so bad for the poor guy.
I don't.
Like
Dude's an absolute Chad. Believes he's getting abducted and jerked off by aliens.
But to describe what these guys are in a sort of jokey sense, these are the kind of one of the hard modes of this setting, if you want to play them, because while they get some nice bonuses, like they are fucked in a lot of other ways.
Yep, they serve in packs. By the way, art-wise, I think if you're going with Cuck Mantis theory, this is the Thri-kreen realizing he's been cheated on by the ugly bastard, which is the bald guy.
Is the other one his wife? Is that what a female Thri-kreen looks
It's not what you think. It's not what you think. Yes.
To describe what these guys are, they're more accurate. They're actually more accurate to be described as like a playable monstrous race than
They're basically
than a normal
monsters.
player race than normal players. They can use weapons, but they can't wear armor. While they can use magic and magical stuff, it's not designed for them. And it even specifically states you can't hand wave it in a way it just fits. No, they're not designed for these guys.
You forgot one other nasty side effect. These guys are driven by instinct. In particular, they're a predator species.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You have to hunt.
They
Wolf must hunt.
in this case, the mantis must hunt.
The bug must hunt.
However, in exchange, as they get advanced, regardless of their class, they become more ferocious monsters. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, they just become nastier monsters. And here is the base and modifiers, so you can customize each of your options. And they even give little details like Thri-kreen are longer than they are tall.
Yeah.
Again, AD&D is very, very much... Okay, so here's the numbers that you need to in order to do this.
Yeah.
And some notes about psionics.
They also can't sleep.
I
Yeah.
just noticed something. In a little change of pace, the elves, we didn't really get into it, but the elves actually don't really have their advanced aging thing like they usually do.
No, they don't.
And they live a little longer than humans, but not too much.
Very interesting, isn't it? You don't usually see that.
Yeah, it's the dwarves that just stick around. It's
their stubbornness.
It's the autism.
Well, that hilariously the half giants.
I don't get why the half giants are so long lived. That doesn't make sense.
It's probably just because they're I don't know, they're just giants are
Big
mystical
animals live
beings.
longer. Giant elephants live a long time.
I think it's Leto's paradox, where things like cancer don't wreck larger creatures just because of some unknown factor.
Mm-hmm. Also, it probably has to do with magic. Because
also, giants are big. They're literally created in a horrible magical experiment, at least based on hints that were discovered about them.
Mm-hmm. Or the race as a whole, I wasn't sure about every individual one.
No, half giants as a race should not be able to be made. They were created as something.
They're as unnatural as the bear owls, everyone's favorite bear owl.
Owlbear, you mean?
Yeah, I know. That was the joke.
Oh. So anyway, a note about psionics. Yeah, magic isn't really tolerated. Suffer not the witch to live, so you have to use mind bullets instead, usually.
What does this remind you of?
As for warrior classes, they give you, there's 3 different classes, fighter, ranger, and gladiator. Gladiator being introduced in this book.
Essentially, they've got some showboaty elements to them, and they're good with fighting a lot of opponents at once.
Yep. They also they're also exotic weapon experts.
Yeah,
Also, as a
but-
side note, there are no paladins. Can't
Get
have paladins.
fucked.
Well, the gods clearly hate Athas.
Templars are Templars are kind of like it, but
Yeah.
not really.
As for wizards, yeah, magic is traditionally very fucking bad because arcane energy powers Athas. And
Mhm.
there's two ways you can do this. Your average play, if you're playing a good party, you're going to try to work with nature,
A preserver in this
a
case.
preserver, and then there's the corruptor, the defiler. Most wizards pick the path of defilement because it is quicker, you get more power, but it's also the reason why Athas is fucking dying.
And then there's this illusionist, but they can be.
Yeah, because Gary loved illusionists.
Well, Gary was kicked out at this point.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, I
illusion,
know,
And-
but
illusions are
had
considered
to
one of
have
the
the
weaker
illusionist.
schools, so that's kind of why they do that.
yeah, but illusions is kind of like basically a running gag at this point. Like it
Mhm.
was a subset in in like one of the really early editions.
And speaking of magic, though, there's also divine magic, which is a bit also different.
Yeah,
So
there's
it's-
priest
They draw it
priestly
from an
casts.
element.
Mhm.
Okay. And a
There
Templar
are no
is...
gods anymore. They basically died.
Oh, wow.
Clerics are more either tending to like emotions, nature, or causes. Templars are servants of the Witch Kings.
The Sorcerer Kings, which slowly
Yeah.
turn more lizardman-like.
Yeah.
I'll just
Technically, the
spoil
Templar.
something. There are no dragons on Athas.
Well,
Naturally.
not as we know it. Not as we know them.
Naturally.
And then there are the druids. They're exactly what you fucking think they are.
hippies.
Yeah, but now their autistic screaming has it seems they were right.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah, like
completely
the
right.
Yeah. Then there's the rogues.
Thieves
we
and
know-
bards. They're split in this case. And last but not least, psionicists. They use the force of mind to affect the environment. They're not magical in nature, although it's not to say they don't use magic to a degree. But it's
And
within.
as they note here, every player in this setting has latent psionic powers and can take up and essentially can kind of become one of these.
Yep, any human or demi-human. Also, psionics can still be killed by the mobs, but it's less common. Basically, if you're dumb enough to try to be a wizard in this setting, well, have fun.
Yeah. Eat shit.
Also, another thing about AD&D that some of you might not know, because you've either played 3.5 or 5th or 4th, you need minimum stat requirements. It's similar to prestiging, but you need them on creation. Gladiator is pretty tough, mainly because you need a 15 in con, and if you're doing it the old-fashioned way, where you're rolling down the line, you could get fucked.
Hilariously, as another way to kind of show off how defilers are doing the easy thing, you only need 9 fucking intent to the class.
Which is funny, because in 3.x, you can't even really cast magic at that level.
Well,
Yeah.
so they're assholes who essentially are cheating.
As for starting level, you're all supposed to start at about 3rd. That's just kind of basically where you're supposed to be. They get Thaco, so have fun with that. Have fun with Thaco.
I still don't understand that, and I've played a game in that.
Then there's starting money and all that.
Hit
Also,
points.
multi-classing in 2nd edition. Cool thing you could do is, let's say you play Gladiator up to 5th level, right? And then you decide to go into ranging so you can specialize in ranged weapons. Well, it kind of resets. You don't keep gaining levels as a character. You kind of do, but kind of don't.
You start gaining levels as your new class.
Yep.
You're no
So-
longer a level 5. You're not a level 5 gladiator level 1 range. You're a level 1 range, but you've kept all the benefits from the previous class.
In case you're wondering, that's how characters like Elemenster were statted originally, and that's why it gets really wonky when you try to convert them out of AD&D.
Also, there are no paladins, as mentioned before. So have fun.
These are the different classes. We're just going to kind of skim through. Gladiator's the only one I think we'll probably focus on, aside from the wizards and scions, I think.
But by the way, hi Conan. If you see that image on page 24.
Yeah.
Also, they mention the battle system TM miniatures rules.
Yeah,
They also
that's
mentioned
the
they
reason.
construct heavy war machines. Fighters can do that.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, yeah, that's how they want you to. Like, come on, don't you want to play fighter? Come on, don't you want to play fighter? They're tactical. They're tactical.
Like you're laughing, but fighters in second edition were arguably one of the best classes you can play.
They
Oh, yeah.
can literally
They were
I know they were
they
fun.
were
script
both
the
your
populace.
combat beast and skill monkey, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of because Barbarian hadn't been made yet, or
Oh
at
no,
least
it
as we know it.
was.
Well, at least as we
Herbert was
know
around.
it.
It just
As
wasn't
we
as
know it.
useful.
Yeah, as we know it.
Yeah.
I was trying to say.
So the way
It isn't,
gladiators were. Oh, go on.
It isn't a Monty Cook that we get the.
wizard
Yeah.
fetish.
Yeah.
It was always kind of there, but the way it was rebalanced made it. I mean, 3.x, 3.0, 3.5, a lot more easy to get into, less
Oh,
complicated.
Before we do that, don't we look at this lovely list of things you could roll up for your follower as a ranger.
Oh, we're actually doing where? Oh,
Ranger's followers, like we're going since we went down from gladiator to ranger.
I was
bottom.
actually going to cover gladiator since that is unique
Oh.
to Dark Sun, but okay, it's fine.
Right.
Ranger
That's actually-
follower, yeah, ranger. You kind of expect that. We can skip. I don't mind.
No, sorry, I just want to just address that one of the followers you can have is a thief. Like it's not an animal; it's just a flat out a thief.
You can't get a sandworm. You can't get the great Shia.
You can get a giant though. You can
also
get a
get
rock.
A kenku. Oh, that's an odd one. Kenku, a giant.
Yep.
You can get a wyvern.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? I actually like this.
You can get anything. Like it's weird. You can.
It's my pet fighter elf.
Thaco
It
may
ranges-
suck cock, but there's a reason that there's a lot of graybeards that refuse to move on from AD&D in first.
Yeah, I'm sorry for doing it. It's just like what a thief is like. I'm just imagining like
You're saying that, but anyway, gladiator. This is a unique class. That's the only reason I wanted to cover it. These are your slave warriors. We mentioned that they're showmen. You actually need a certain strength amount, and you actually get bonus to EXP if you are strong.
Automatically proficient in all weapons.
Yep, because you have to be. You have to show off your skills. And they specialize in multiple weapons. They're kind of like your proto fighters in 3.x. They also are experts in unarmed combat. They actually kind of serve as monks in the setting as well.
Oh god, not the punching and wrestling tables.
And you also can learn to optimize armor, which basically means that it improves your fucking Thaco. We're not getting into Thaco. But anyway, back to the Rangers followers. You can get a great cat.
Yeah. Also a giant antlion.
Come on, don't you want a giant damselfly larva eating your opponents?
That sounds awesome. Like, yes, I do.
May not be a sandworm, but that's almost as good.
I'm sorry, it just is so weird because we're also used to like ranger wild companions, but then thief.
I'm surprised you didn't stare in confusion at druid.
Right? Yeah, rangers had their wild companions too.
Druids. That's a companion you can get as a preserver, which is a type of wizard. Speaking of which, wizards. We kind of went into this. Wizards are divided into two clades, and wizards fucked up the setting irrevocably.
Also, defilers can only be humans, half elves, or elves. Which
kind of lets you know who's in charge.
Well, actually, the funny thing is, I'll just spoil this meta plot thing. I don't think it's in second edition, but when they went back to it in fourth, a halfling is responsible for discovering the ritual to become a defiler, and
of fucking course,
his apprentices were humans, if I remember right.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's the easy way out. You get your spells more quickly. You get your spells quicker. But it absolutely sucks away all life around them.
You can't be good playing this.
And then you got this emo dude on the next page that I guess is a defiler.
Actually, you notice how his body's mutating? Yeah, defiling, being a wizard, the magic, the arcane energy you're stealing in this case, slowly mutates you.
Mhm.
You become more reptilian.
Uh, I just noticed something. Maybe just I'm looking through it. Oh yeah, no, it's there. Sorry, it's just it's hidden away.
Also, preservers, same thing.
Yeah.
Intelligence 9 and the same requirements, and that's a preserver. They also mutate, but it's not as quickly.
And it's and unlike and they can and that some of their magic can actually stop the world from dying.
Essentially, rather than just sucking away the energy keeping Athas together, they kind of work with it. It's like riding with the flow. If you watched the Dune movie, there's a scene where you just kind of ride the sandstorm.
Mhm.
That's kind of how they work.
All right.
And then there's illusionist.
They're
And
illusionists.
illusionists are a
Moving
thing.
on. Yeah.
Priests, yeah, there's no deities on Athas.
God
Besides
is
the
dead
Sorcerer
and you
King.
killed him.
Besides
That
the Sorcerer
literally
Kings.
happens, yes.
Yeah.
There's powerful sorcerer kings. They'll often pretend to be them. And
Templars are the guys that worship them.
And clerics tend to worship just elements, maybe spirits,
And then druids go dude weed Lamau.
essentially, yeah. And there's the spheres of magic, which getting mage vibes from just hearing that.
Also, unlike the arcane spellcasters, they are far less race hindrances on the divine magic.
Interestingly enough, one of the we had a Discord vote for which of these would we had 3 books. This was the winner. Another suggestion, Birthright has a similar thing. Only I think in their case it's divine magic that the other races can't access. So anyway, yeah, clerics are they worship the 4 elements or ideals. And each one has
air.
requirements.
Earth, air, fire, water.
Earth can use stone and metal. They can also use wood. Air, they can only use bows, blowguns, or slings. They cannot use melee weapons. Spears
No,
are
except spears.
tolerable.
They can use spears for both. Clerics with fire have to use fire weapons,
Yeah.
which so they can also use obsidian, so you can play an Aztec, I guess.
That's kind of the only way you can play a cleric of fire if you want to use weapons.
Either that or you get like a flamethrower, I guess.
And water actually has the most
return to
access.
monkey.
Return to monkey.
They can only
you
use
can use
wood or
bone
bone weapons.
But they can use it of any kind, essentially, that you can make it from those things.
So Ugg hit with bone. That's an actual thing.
Ugg uses a wooden spear the entire campaign. Oh wow.
Clerics are weird.
Yeah.
In this setting, but they still have but all of them still have their normal stuff of undead though.
Because of the way level progressions work in AD&D, you usually got followers and actual noble titles the higher level you get. And Athas, not so much. Fighters, yes, because, I mean, if you murder enough people with a sword, it's kind of the Barsoom logic. You murder enough motherfuckers with a sword, they will deem you king. Clerics don't get that.
You can't set up, like, your own little stuff. Well, it says, however, there's something actually. However, any of these things may come about for the result of good role-playing.
Essentially. That's how you get your soft power. You can also ignore presence of elements, so you could do things like fire walking, pass through the rock.
Ignore poison gas.
Your mic's kind of acting weird.
What? Is it quiet?
It's just going like robotic-y.
Hell, I'm sorry, guys.
I'm not hearing it.
I didn't notice it.
Huh.
Okay.
Maybe it's only on your end.
Yeah, might be.
Anyway, but yeah, it's useful. Divine magic's always been pretty good.
Don't
D&D.
forget, you can unleash the elemental plane. I douche you with a torrent of water from the plane of water.
Rocks fall, everyone dies.
That's an actual spell you can do.
Then there are druids who you think it's actually
Dude, legal amount,
but you think it's be a bit redundant considering clerics kind of also kind of take a bit of that nowadays.
But they have another function. See, clerics kind of are your shamans that do the spirits and the elements. Druids are kind of, they have a little bit of ranger in them in that they watch over certain lands and protect them.
They can also hide, so they're basically the hermits that live out in the middle of the desert and go fucking nuts.
See, your cleric is your ooga booga shaman, or your weird, priest who, worships the fire and the ziggurats. Your druid is the hermits in your sword fantasy setting.
Yeah. Next up is Templars, which are basically paladins, but
They
not.
serve evil traditionally because they serve usually the god kings, the sorcerer kings.
So unlike the others, they don't actually have the alignment, especially because it could be in the sense that you grew up in their city and you just don't know any better.
And the thing is, the sorcerer kings aren't necessarily they're mostly evil, but to their people, they're enlightened despots. Traditionally, at least for some of them.
Templars Templars though do carry back the racial requirements for. Mind you, the druid does technically have them, but it's much less restrictive.
Also, they get powers within only their city state, which is I can order a slave to do something, or they die. I can pass judgment on a slave at any time. I can legally enter houses. Requisition soldiers pass judgment.
Yeah, as long as you don't
pardons.
abuse it, and as long as you're still in favor of your sorcerer king, you have writ to do whatever the hell you need to. Or want to.
Oh, you also get to withdraw money for free.
Mind you, though, if you want to play this, you best do your damnedest not to offend whoever is where your hierarchy is, because you literally just lose everything.
It's all or nothing. A fun thing about Templars, and this is an interesting thing with AD&D, there are certain spell level limits for a lot of classes. See, it's not just 4 or 9 like you see in 3.5. You can go up to 7 sometimes, or sometimes as low as 2. Very odd stuff.
Then we get to the stuff, to the sneaky shit.
We know what rogues do.
It's Bard. Bards get poisons.
Yeah, they do. Bards have the ability to poison.
And they don't get magic.
Nope.
So it's like, why play a Bard?
Because you, in the event that no one else is a mage, are the only guy that can still identify magic items.
You want to be you want to play Dendalion in a hellscape. Then there's
Also,
Thief. What the fuck do you think a thief is?
They're a thief. By the way, you can be a 3-cream thief, though I don't understand why you would.
You just steal their food. You just steal their food larder.
You're just the Florida man of the setting. You're just breaking into people's houses and cooking.
No, I'm just trying to imagine.
You know what? I want to play that now.
But now the real question is, there's only you. Oh yeah, we didn't mention this, but Bard only allows human and half elves, nothing else.
Yep.
Oh come on, who doesn't want the 3-cream Bard sleeping with all the women?
The sorcerer kings and all socialized people.
They wouldn't be sleeping with the woman. They'd ask you to sleep with their woman because they're the mantis class.
With that explanation, I'm surprised the sorcerer king doesn't allow them for this.
Anyway, moving on, psionists.
Psionicists are they're basically your mind bulletsmen.
Mm-hmm. And they can come from anyone, not just demis.
They also get an inherent potential.
Basically, that expands how much power points and how good your brain bullets are, if I remember right. I've never touched psionics or looked at psionics in AD&D. I can tell you that psionics are not as broken as some people seem to think. Yeah, you can do a lot of damage in the very beginning, but by doing that, you basically blow your load for that one moment.
Wait, but okay, so here's the thing with 3-creams. If you are a thief, you can't actually multi-class.
Nope.
That doesn't make okay, why?
Because they're not demi-human or human. They're
Because
monsters
It's
that can
second
think.
edition.
Essentially because reason.
They're monsters that can think. That's why.
I know, but I
Okay.
think Twitek is more wondering why can't you go to Thief than Psionist?
Well,
Yeah, like
it's because
that.
AD&D, buddy.
Yeah, that's just. I'm just a little bit baffled by that one.
That's
They're
probably
not
honestly an
counted as
oversight.
human. They're monstrous humanoid.
Also, I'm honestly just
But they
thinking
have
that's
they're allowed for both.
Yeah, I'm saying I think that's just an oversight on that count.
Possibly.
Mind you, if we're really talking restrictions, though, look at Half Giant.
You're a
Oh,
big
poor
half giant. What do you expect?
You either you get all access to the fighter classes, but you can either be any one of those, a cleric, and a psionist.
You're a big fucking half giant that can murder people
You can
by
be a
throwing
ranger
them.
though. You can be
Yeah.
a ranger or a Templar at least, which I guess
You're stuck
okay.
there, but
And it's only gladiator that cannot be a multi-class combination for demi-humans.
Yep.
So theoretically, I guess you could be a 3 Korean thief psionic, but
I mean, you
I don't
can
know.
change this. That's one of the other things about older D&D is you can change it if you need to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this is one of those things where I'm like, this looks like an oversight.
Character trees. Campaigns are set in a violent world. That's why it's called War World originally.
Yep.
There's powerful magic, psionics, fuckload of raiders, the desert wastes, and a lot of ruined cities. So many ruined cities.
I do know that they also say set up a character tree
Yeah,
because
it's
you're gonna die a lot.
mhm.
You want
Also,
several, yes.
yeah, and they typically at least ask you to keep them in the same kind of thing. So you can't, if you're playing like a lawful good, dwarf, please don't switch to a chaotic evil tribe.
If your party kind of already established itself as a mostly preserver kind of leaning stuff, don't bring a defiler in,
Don't. It's not gonna
and
end
vice
well.
versa.
Mind you, if over the campaign everyone starts to die and you start becoming those assholes, fair enough.
That's fair. Although at that point, I think the party would disband and it would just be a different group at that point.
Also,
Yeah.
they mentioned that half giants shifting alignment should become a hindrance as often as it is a boon.
Yeah, because they
Which
might agree with the bandit raiders because there's more of them.
this just sounds like an excuse for your player if you've got a half giant to be a fucking asshole.
It depends on the player who has them. Yeah.
And also the DM.
Apparently, the rule is that every time a tough giant, I remember reading it. Every time they go to sleep and wake up, they have the choice to change their limit. It's not mandatory, but they can.
They just
They
wake up.
must
I
choose
feel
an
like being
alignment
a monster
every morning. One that reflects reaction to their changing environment.
I feel like being a butthole today.
Mind you, the GM should probably suggest they play another type of character if a player repeatedly requests daily alignment changes, simply for personal gain. Which I think is a good point about this. So it's like, yes, you can say no. Otherwise, though, they do talk about how alignment rules work with water. So let's get into our still suits and start talking about the water that we all have to each other for this podcast.
Yep. Character advancement. Status of inactive characters. These are just more details. Here we go. Half giants in alignment. Sorry, I was a little bit behind. Here we go. Alignment in desperate situations. You're gonna love this one, Randall.
Party characters that has a potentially deadly shortage of water will have to take several things into consideration. Individually, characters should react based on their alignment. This means that if you ever run out of water as an evil party, you're fucked.
Yep, based on their alignment. As a group, they will have to examine which of their number are strong and capable, and which are weak and in need of assistance. Plans may be made to give more water to certain individuals so they can survive to cast spells or fight foes.
So basically, this is the Freeman water stuff. It's time to decide. Hey, who's sucking up all the water, and who can we drink the blood of?
Yeah,
to survive.
It gets better though. It does get better. So, lawful good, they will insist that everyone gets an even share there is, even those in the party that seem beyond hope. Lawful neutral, since such characters will insist everyone get an even share, but won't care one way or another about characters that may be beyond hope. They could accept, or they could say, yeah, that's a good point. Lawful evil, Available water must be evenly distributed among the able body. Screw those that seem like they're going to drop dead.
Neutral will say, like, if you're severely there, the plan must benefit the party and not personally hurt them for them to agree with it.
Yep. And true neutral, they'll want a fair share from themselves, but that's all they care about, really.
They want water, and that's it. And then neutrally, they'll kind of the same, but they reject giving it to the weak.
Yep, unless it's them.
Unless it's them, then they'll take it happily. Chaotic Good will insist everybody gets an even share of water, even the very weak. He will not consider plans calling for unequal water distribution unless he and those he likes personally get more water.
So
Yeah.
the chaotic good in this case is actually more accurately selfish good.
Selfish
Yeah.
good. Chaotic neutral, they only care if they get extra.
Yeah, they
And
just
chaotic
like, fuck it,
evil
give me-
will lie, cheat, or kill to get the water they can.
immediately.
I like to imagine. I like to imagine that the chaotic evil person just stabs the guy with only like 3 health points left. He's like, now we don't. Well, now we can
Less
distribute the
water.
water.
He will constantly suggest plans calling for unjust water distribution that grant him additional water
Holy
immediately.
shit.
Yeah? But it gets better. It gets better, Randall. Severe desperation. For the purposes of this rule, severe desperation sets in when one member of the party dies from dehydration and the situation doesn't show any sign of changing. At times, the DM should make wisdom checks for each character every day in order to avoid insanity. The madness created by water deprivation forces the character to adopt a chaotic evil alignment for that day with regards to obtaining water. So your entire party of lawful good people, if they go in the wastes with not enough water, can go full Donner Party and start drinking the blood of the ones they've slain just to stay alive a little longer.
This is so dumb. I'm sorry, but this bit
I
is really
love
dumb.
it. It's so dumb.
It's like, yeah, so if you're playing Mr. I have no wisdom
Lawful
because
good pal, a lawful good Templar,
lawful, well, he can't be a lawful
Well, you
good
can't be
Templar.
lawful good. Lawful neutral.
lawful neutral,
Lawful good fighter.
lawful good fighter, who's going to this ruined city to maybe find some ancient, some ancient device.
Rolls badly because wisdom was his dump stat. All of a sudden, he is killing everyone in the party for water.
And drinking
No,
their blood.
Well, in all fairness, it also states and stuff like that. More accurately, he just starts threatening people. Meanwhile, the bard
get the
has
water.
already poisoned his food.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh wow. They even say like, "Hey DMs, if your players aren't being enough of an asshole for you, just take their characters and make them NPCs, and then be assholes for them."
Because this is one of the negatives of AD&D.
Wow.
Player versus GM.
Yeah.
They go
What-
into weapon proficiencies.
What do you
next.
think, Riddle? Do you like the I'm dehydrated, so I become chaotic evil when it comes to getting my water?
I actually kind of do.
I knew you would.
It's kind of neat. Like it's a neat touch for the setting, but it's also like, holy shit, what an excuse.
To give you an idea, viewers, when I came into this chat before we started, they were both Greg and Tech Priest were laughing because they just stumbled upon that.
Just like, oh my god, are you serious?
No water, drink the blood.
Just
Speaking of water, one of the skills-
I'll poison my best friends just to make sure I don't die.
Speaking of proficiencies, one of them is heat protection, which is trot and finding water, which both are int. So God help you if your fighter dumped int too.
Yeah. Also, do you like the next page, Mister? I'm covered in spikes, man.
Yeah,
I'm Wolverine, but I can't be legally called Wolverine for copyright
He's
purposes.
covered in gimp armor.
it's a Cenobite. It's a Cenobite Wolverine.
I have such sights to show you.
I do love that they talk about that agriculture does exist in this world.
It does. Heat protection,
Sure.
bureaucracy, because you have to understand how forms work. Bargaining, yep.
This is something you probably take if like you're a Templar.
Sign language is an actual proficiency. You
That
can
one
get.
makes some sense,
I
honestly.
like that. Well, it's also because they're ripping off Dune.
Yeah, it is. It's 100% that. You
Psionic,
must conceal yourself from the sandworms. Learn the language of the with their hands.
somatic concealment, so you could actually hide your magic, because if you're not good at hiding magic, they will legitimately lynch you.
They will lynch you. Yeah.
Finding water, desperate. You have to that's kind of required.
If you get a good on this, you can sustain yourself for the day without having to dip into the party resource.
Weapon improv, because you can kung fu your way using just random garbage. Hey, there's kind of a sandworm with the lady on it.
That's not really a sandworm.
It's
That's
like
more
a
like a
centipede.
it's like a
Honestly,
centipede thing.
that almost kind of looks more like a person just in a shitty costume.
It kind of does.
It's
But yeah,
it's one of the cuck
agriculture,
manuses.
artistic ability. Slaves with artistic ability are sometimes brought out of the mud pits. Sometimes.
Yeah. Where they're taught to
And then,
read.
and then there are other proficiencies that that came from other settings.
You forget the no, you didn't read the second half, my friends. Yeah, the artistic abilities are brought out from the mud pits and into the homes of nobles where they're taught to read. Once out of favor, though, literate slaves can't be returned to the pits. They're either executed or sent to the arena. You forgot that part.
I forgot that part, yeah.
Blacksmithing, which compares with armor.
There's also fishing. Like somehow you're in an oasis. I guess
there's a few oases and smaller lakes. There's not many though.
And there's a talk about the
Rivers too.
the climate as well. Sandy wastes, stony barrens, rocky badlands, salt flats, mountains, jungles, and steppes. So jungles should be pretty humid though. So I mean,
salt flat. Oh yeah, I think it's because jungles are surprisingly water poor.
Mm-hmm.
It's shocking but true. Jungles are actually a lot harder to find water than you'd think.
I think of rainforest. I probably am.
Rainforests can also be more surprising than you think. That's why whenever you chop down the the fauna, not the fauna, the flora, you actually get like desertification in that area.
Yeah.
Also, since we're now going into money, don't expect to see gold for a while.
It's all ceramics. Yeah.
Yeah. Coin, you're mostly seeing it in the cities. Athas is metal poor. It's not depleted. So instead, it's more barter. Barter is very common.
Mm-hmm. And what coins there are, like they have like even new things. They're like it's bits.
Yeah, it's just like pieces of glass or whatever.
Ceramic.
They got your goblins.
No. Ceramic is CP.
Yeah, let's there
There's
are
no
coins,
copper.
but
There's
they're
no
rare.
copper coins. There's no such thing as copper coins anymore because copper has to be used to build weapons.
Here we go.
Copper,
it's
CP
the ceramic piece. They're ceramic coins, which actually it was a real thing. Clay coins were made.
Yeah.
And pieces are when you literally kind of create hack silver out of it. You take a ceramic piece and you split it. There are gold coins, though. That's what the GPs are.
Mm-hmm.
Those are literally the only metal coins you'll find. The rest is ceramic.
With just different markings to distinguish them.
Yeah.
Yep. They also mentioned that metal armor doesn't exist in the setting because it's just too expensive.
Also, it's probably too fucking hot.
That's the other reason.
Yeah. By the way, do you like how the common wages show you what the military's costing is? Because again, they had a battle system set up for this.
Copper fucking coins, mostly.
Ceramic pieces, you mean?
Yeah, ceramic. Yeah, ceramic. The highest paying job is an engineer.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, they're kind of critical, especially for life support functions on the tablelands, as they're called.
They're like skill. Yeah, they're like probably class labor. Like you probably have to be born into it to do it.
Not necessarily, but it depends on the city-state.
Also,
Sorry,
but they also mentioned how you can barter for a bastard sword for 10,000 pounds of rice.
Yeah, you can. Barter's a real thing that you can use.
Which I just find that really charming.
Like if you want to go Phantom Menace Qui-Gon Jinn's bet with Watto, you can totally do that as a legitimate form of barter.
That does sound pretty fun, honestly.
Hmm.
Just be prepared to pay up what you owe.
Mm-hmm. Or you could have the party fighter or half giant can be fucking have a sense of humor and say he's going to barter the shop owner is going to give him that sword, and in exchange he will give him the joy of him not sticking his spear through his head.
And then he gets violently killed by the Templars, which swarm him
Yeah.
like a fucking ant.
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. That's a thing. As for weapons, there's the cost, weight, and metal is rare, but it's 100% cost, 100% weight. No damage negative modifiers, no damage to THAC0. Hit probability basically ups the chances of you missing.
Yep.
Bone is kind of your best bet. It only does a little bit. Obsidian is more inaccurate, but it doesn't do any negative damage. You can have a wooden sword.
It would be shit though.
-2, -3. Yeah, it's not great.
You might theoretically be better just punching them to death.
There's another negative to using those other materials. They have the effect called breaking. There is, whenever a successful attack inflicts maximum damage, there is a 1 in 20 shot the weapon just fucking breaks.
Yep. They also mentioned the same thing as that the armor is the same. I do like that they mentioned that the equipment, they give a decent idea of what it's actually worth, and then they describe what a tune of water actually is. Which is, it's 250 gallons.
Yep. Also, here's a fun fact. A suit of field armor, plate armor, it costs only 2,000 gold pieces, right? Yeah, on Athas, multiply that by like 1,000, dude.
100.
100. It's awful. It's terrible.
The only people who can afford them are the sorcerer kings themselves.
Or the richest men in their city-states. That's about it.
It's also just not pleasant to wear, and why would you?
So, what's much more common are shields and light armor like leather and padded.
Or, if you're an Ooga Booga, bone armor, I guess.
Bone armor is a real thing.
Yeah, it works. I mean...
It has a chance of breaking, but
They then move on to okay, here's your other equipment.
Yeah, here's your animal, Erdlu Inix Kank. Yeah, have fun knowing what those mean, buddy.
The Kank is the thing that one chick was riding. They're about 8 feet long, 4 feet high, 400 pounds. They're like herd animals.
Yep. There you go. These are the animal lists, which is nice. I wish it was a little bit earlier in the book, right after, but fair enough.
Then they go into what the weapons are, which is...
The Chachka is that throwing wedge spear. The Gifka is a trident.
Yeah. It's like a boomerang. It's a slicing boomerang. That's the Chachka.
There's an impaler, which is literally just 2 spikes attached to like a spear shaft. At 90-degree angle, so you're basically swinging a T around.
Yeah. There's a Quabone, which is it's basically useless.
It's it's the fucking Krull. You know that stupid 5-pointed chakra star thing from Krull?
Oh, it's that, yeah.
It's that. I'm actually happy they introduced that because it's so dumb.
There's also a wrist razor, which is what that one guy was rocking earlier. These are your Wolverine claws.
Lincoln,
you have to have Wolverine claws.
Crawling in my crawl.
I just want to know that all of your problems with water can be solved by just having a cleric around at level 3.
Yeah. Yeah, create food and water. You can only make a certain amount. But still.
Yeah, but still, it's like, hey.
The thing is, the 3rd level, it takes effort, and you're not starting at that level.
What are you talking about? It said you should start at 3rd level.
You know what spell levels are, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Very different from character level.
Yeah. Sorry. This is why I should be drinking more water.
Oh,
Drink
no,
the water.
Greg's becoming chaotic evil.
I failed my wisdom save.
They go into after the spell list.
It's the mole man summoning forth the lightning monster, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I like it.
They go into
here's your spheres, if you're curious.
Yeah, they go into wizardly magic. So they talk about how defiler spells actually work. They basically say, yeah, you just become a nuclear bomb to all vegetation around you.
Yeah, the blighters. I think we covered them. basically anti-druids, you're an anti-druid.
Yeah.
Everything
there's
around you drops dead.
Also, I was joking about the druids being hippies, but no, there's literally magical trees of life that druids use for special powers.
They have to, yeah.
That's okay.
Magical destruction table. That shows how much damage you do in the area, by the way. Radius in yards, in which all vegetation is turned to ash.
Doing it in a forest, not the worst. Doing it in a stony barrens, 30 yards around you with a level 9 spell, everything just fucking obliterates. Like they're fucking like it's like the Thanos snap.
Yeah. Effect on living creature. Though only plants are destroyed within the radius, living creatures are caused agony. Any being in the radius of a defiler's magic suffers an immediate initiative modifier penalty equal to the level of the spell cast. Your bones start hurting.
Yeah,
Does this include the defiler though? Because I think it does.
It includes everyone. Your party members, you.
Okay,
My
but I can
bones!
use
one of those things.
defiler.
It's in other words, it explicitly more states that the defilers are best more for ritualists, long-term magic that doesn't require them having to be in the thick of combat.
Hey, yep, the Tree of Life. These are kind of
So loud.
These are kind of very important because, well, they keep life around partially. It's not a good idea to destroy these things. By the way, undead like to go after them because, they're kind of the antithesis of them.
Yeah. Such as
Also, they're now exploited by defilers who use the tree's life force to charge their spells. So Sorcerer Kings have a habit of just kind of stealing trees and just putting
I
them
love
in the
it.
courtyards.
They're Captain Planet villains. They're just Captain Planet villains.
Like, you know how Arrakis has those holy palms? Imagine that, but if the governor of Arrakis then used it just to cast his dark sorcery. I have stolen these trees so that I can cast Fireball.
Ah, yes, 5 palms themselves are each palm tree is worth 5 men a day. Like it's like okay, the water that they take and whatever. Fuck it. I just read Dune. Just read.
They have
Dune,
that
or
scene
watch
in
the
the
movie.
movie in Villeneuve, so.
Really, they do.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is actually a good adaptation.
It's
then,
about, I think they only cut about 5% of the first half of the book, so.
I think they changed a character
couple
that
things.
really doesn't matter. Like everybody's like, well, they gender flipped the fucking Freeman planetologist. I'm like, they're
It
literally
doesn't matter.
they don't matter to the plot whatsoever. Really, they're just kind of there.
So some magical items include potions and oils, because oils used to be much more relevant in old D&D. Your sacred ointments.
Yep.
Scrolls, and then your staves, rods, and other things.
They also talk about class awards.
Yep.
After that, so you actually get
AD&D
money.
is unique.
Yeah. So basically, like, the more spells you cast as a wizard, the more you get, which makes some sense. All priests per use of granted power get 100 XP. 100 XP for spell level. Potion or scroll made XP value. And also for clerics, using it creatively is usually good. And also for druids, the more defilers you defeat per level, the more experience you get. So it might be a valid tactic to just hang around a city and just jump people and shank them in an alley.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you'll get sicked on by the Templars, but still.
Eventually, but still, like you could probably do that for a few
Here's
days.
One that I think you guys are partially aware of. The way rogues gain their EXP is on how much treasure they obtain.
This can also be from your party.
Yes, you're not wrong. That character should be killed, after they do it. But
Hey, I'll let them steal my stuff to get the next level.
And everyone
it's okay.
everyone can get per hit for creatures defeated, but each class has their own thing.
Yeah. For example, fighters.
I like this bard poisoning someone.
Well, they did mention
Oh.
it. They did mention
They
that.
are specialists in poison. I just thought they'd also
Yeah.
get performances, but I guess they're just
No, it's because they're
specialized.
just poisoners here.
Maybe Bard is just like kind of like when they just like a term, like it doesn't actually mean what we think it means, or it's just sort of
Oh, it's
lost
it's
all
like how
meaning.
in German the word gift means poison.
Mm-hmm.
I love that weird what the fuck. How the hell did we change gift from poison to present?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, they mention the individual race awards, and I love this one for
Oh yeah, each one of those have that too.
yeah, I love this one for sorry
Dwarf
for
is autistic as always.
yeah, no, the 3 Kreen. Per kill brought back for food, you get an extra 50 XP. Per creature paralyzed, you get 100, and per missile dodged, you get 10 XP.
Yep, you
So-
just indulge your inner monster, your inner instincts.
Also, your inner Matrix movie scene, I guess.
Well, it's because again, Thrycreen aren't they what AD&D did here is they try to emphasize the monstrousness of them. They're monstrous humanoids, yes, but monstrous is the first part about them.
Then there's individual class awards, which
I like how halflings are weeaboos. Practice another race's custom.
yes. My name is Ken-sama, and I have
Also, as for mules, heavy exertion. You literally have to indulge your slave drive.
you have to get on the wheel.
The wheel from yeah, that's actually a viable
You
thing.
do.
Like the wheel scene, can't you just envision like a bunch of them on a hill, on like maybe not Tyr, but like one of the other city states? You just make one up, and they're just spinning it for no fucking discernible reason.
Nobody knows why, they're just doing it. Oh, then they have a bunch of stuff on arena combat.
Oh yeah, because this is the Barsoom part of it. Barsoom had what are called the Great Games. A lot of cultures really like their gladiatorial stuff. Oh, and they actually explain why each of these races get their experience as they do, for those wondering.
Yeah, which is nice.
It's not just like random. They explain it, and I love. This is why AD&D is considered so good, even if it's a little clunkier and Thaco is the devil.
They explain why everything is why it is.
This is how you do a good book. Not the only way. White Wolf does its own way, which works just as well.
The next one that they mentioned with like the wagering and all this is it's actually not.
Oh no. Let's go through some of the arena combats. It's like
Yeah.
standard gladiators. There's games are just anything, and there's terms like matinee, which they're just garbage. It's kind of the term similar to how matinee tickets are cheaper usually than full release.
Yeah.
These are the cheapo fights. Grudge matches are if gladiators survive their respective duel, akin to wrestling. Trial by combat, well, if you've ever read A Song of Ice and Fire or Game of Thrones, that's kind of what that explains it for you. Your guilt is evident by the fact that you died in the ring.
Yeah. They also have team games as well,
Yep, matched pairs.
which usually make no sense to anybody outside of the city.
Bestial combat, because of course you have to fight the giant 8-legged lion with the scorpion tail.
Then they have the Test of Champions, which
That's the big day. That's the big event.
yeah. They also mention wagering, of course, which is like, hey,
Let's go on.
let's go to a match and watch the gladiators.
So this is
Sounds
something
fun.
that your players, if you make it to a city, you can do. You could just enjoy watching a wagering match.
Also, you can trade gladiators around.
If
Also,
you manage to buy a gladiator, which your party can do if you have enough money.
Yeah.
Gladiators are profitable. They're the athletes and They're the professional wrestlers of the ancient world.
Also, they mentioned with battling this next bit. I love this. So battling undead in Dark Sun is kind of interesting for druids and for sorry, not for druids, for the clerics, because to make undead flee, they have to channel their element.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you're a cleric of Earth, you can just carry around pocket sand and toss it in the faces of the undead to turn them.
You cannot kill me, man of Earth. There's
Pocket
nothing.
sand!
Ah!
Ah!
I love it.
It's so silly because they also mentioned like a cleric of water must splash water at the undead, and all I can think of
Oh
is
no,
like
no, you don't have
some.
to. Just you could do the Fryman spit.
You can just I spit on him, my brothers. Spit on him.
That's a genuine thing you can do, and I love it.
That sounds hilarious. Honestly,
And
it's
for
just
the
like a
for the
gang of
air one, my
roving
favorite
clerics.
is you could do the taunt. I fart in your general direction.
Yeah. A cleric of a cleric of fire has the worst of it. Obviously, basically, you have to either be like holding a torch and be like get, just like or having a bunch of ash and you're just throwing it at people.
That's
Which,
like pocket sand, but less cool.
yeah, pocket sounds more fun than that. It's also
Now, character death, they kind of warn you up front. Yeah, death is likely.
it's about to go bad. Yeah, they
Like
then
to
go
give you an
into
idea, 90% of Athas is like literal fucking wasteland. 8% is marginal, and like the remaining 2 are okay.
Oh, this is also I think the first book to mention the -10.
Yep, Death's Door. It may not be the first, but it's one of the ones that really goes into detail on Death's Door.
Yeah. They also go into waging wars where they recommend you use the battle system,
Which
all
no one
caps,
ever
TM.
used, sadly.
Nobody ever used it. It kind of went out. They also talk about piecemeal armor.
No, it didn't go out. They tried to revive it in 3rd edition with the miniatures, and then they tried again with 4th edition, and look where that
Fourth
fucking
edition,
got them.
4th edition at least, like it's a grid. You don't
Fourth
need necessarily the
edition-
minis.
4th edition is a good war game. It's not a good role-playing game.
Actually, I just realized something.
What?
Every edition, except 5th at the moment, has tried to keep chainmail alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've
Wow.
tried to bring you back to playing with minis.
Wow.
Fourth was the most
so
obvious about it.
you hear that, Pathfinder people? 4th edition's more culturally correct to the original intent.
It is. It unironically is. I think 4th edition is a perfectly fine edition.
It's just I don't like playing minis games, so
That's fair enough. Like each their own. But it's like,
which is funny because Birthright's amazing and it's basically minis. Game.
yeah. So they go into treasure types, and they also mention like how gold
piecemeal
and stuff
armor
is...
because you're not going to get full armor usually. You have to scrap your armor together like a fucking band, like fucking hobo.
Yeah, you're going full Fallout here. Like it's just like, hey, what's this? What's that? Fuck it, it'll work. Throw it on.
Yep, and they actually show you. So if you want a cool rule set, here it is. Bonus to AC per piece, divided between breastplate, their arms, their one arm, and both legs, or one leg.
Yeah. So
if you ever want to mix and match, here you go, buddies.
So it kind of sucks though. If you for your legs, the only thing that matters for that is field plate.
Well,
if you just want one
legs
leg.
are usually heavily armored anyway.
Yeah, padded armor on your legs does nothing. That's kind of sad.
Let's see. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of surprising, but not really, I guess. So here's some treasure. This gives you the treasure types.
And then they go into coins. They're saying there's no platinum or electrum.
Yep, there's just silver, silver and gold, ceramic and bits, and gems.
Gems are actually very common and used often for trading. I think is the thing that they want.
Metal coins are more valuable in Athas. They're actually more rare. Instead, you get the ceramics.
They also mentioned objects of art are not usually part of treasure.
Because Athas is a dying world. You might find them if you go to some of the ruined cities, but have fun.
They also say that if it's made out of steel, it's really valuable, though.
Extremely valuable.
Magical items kind of gets into... the thing is...
Yeah, they're going to another subchapter, yeah.
Yeah, is a final group of items is so contradicts the environment of Athas, they either do not exist or have been changed. Potion of dragon control, scroll of protection from dragon's breath, the bag of tricks, Bucknard's Everthrow purse, the decanter of endless water, all horseshoes, a stone horse, a hammer, a +3 dwarven thrower, elven chain, and any item having to do with aquatic settings or lycanthropes.
All of them have either been ripped out or changed.
Yep. Then they go into potions, which are either fruits or berries.
Yeah,
you
you
never
just
find a potion as a fluid in a flask or a vial.
you have to grind them together and eat it.
You have to eat it, yeah.
Magical
I
fruit.
think, yeah. This reminds me of the weird fruits from Changeling, the Lost, where
Yeah.
in the hedge there's these like weird goblin fruits you can grab, and they'll have various effects.
Well, also we now know where the heck the devil fruits came from One Piece.
Oh my god! Do you think that what's his name, Oda, played Dark Sun and is just stuck with him for the rest of time?
Maybe.
Maybe. Probably
I mean,
not.
Think about it, right?
I could tell one of the weirdest moments of Japanese stealing of culture that I've ever seen is the original Mario Land.
Yeah.
There's the music in the tomb levels that
Yeah.
that's from a metal song. That's like from I think it's was it it was either Trivium or Iced or it's Desert Rain. They literally took the guitar solo from a metal album and turned it into 8-bit. Either that or Iced or / Trivium stole it. Either way, it's funny. There's new magical items
Wow.
too. Here
Yeah,
you go.
they also add some new ones, which I think some of these got used later, which is like the Rod of Divining.
Yep, Rod of
I'm pretty
Divining's
sure that
one.
got used.
The oil of
Uh,
feather falling. Instead of having a feather fall token, you lube yourself
You
up.
crush a fruit and you rub the juice all over your feet.
You lube up.
It's time to oil up. Okay, next page. There's the encounters, and I love this art. What the fuck
Yeah,
is
this
this
guy.
thing?
I think it might be a giant.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'm like, he's fucking ripped. He's having fun. They then go through a bunch of
Yep,
tables.
here's the compendiums, Forgotten Realms, because you can use them. Dragonlance, Greyhawk. The Character, Wilderness. Here you go, Wilderness Encounters for those of you who use these. Swarm of Ants. That's a...
Slaves.
Yeah?
They don't explain what half of these are, and they just say, "Hey, yeah, you'll encounter them."
You can encounter them. Buy the monster manuals and Fiend Folios.
Yeah. Then they mention the spellcasters and Templars as NPCs, along with druids of NPCs.
Mhm.
But they also mention that if you are a level 1 Templar, your job might be literally garbage man, which I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. One of
Which
the
I
other
think
things
is really
about
fun.
AD&D is your title changes upon level.
So I fucking love the idea that you are the trash man.
You could start that as Trash Man. I mean, every character is expected to start at level 3 or so. But if you want to start at level 1, like absolute Garbo, you could start, if you have a Templar character, as the Garbage Man. They're given dirtier jobs. They have fewer guards at their disposal. Slaves. Yep. As for Druid NPCs, they defend their guarded lands with their life.
Yep. I do think that
Don't you like the skeletons rising up? Ah!
I think that the next one they talk about the calendar, which is just like, okay, I mean, this is neat
The
fluff stuff.
Athas calendar.
Wonder.
There's also visibility conditions because, sandstorms.
I have
Also,
to
the
wonder
next-
if sorry. I was just wondering if like necromancy still has the same always must be evil thing in Barsoom, considering
It does.
Yeah, it does. I imagine it also is only defilers can use it.
It is a defiler thing, from what I saw.
Athas calendar. So for those of you who actually go maximum crazy and actually use fantasy calendars, here you go.
What with
Each year is
Each
made
year
up of
is-
375 days. And they use the high noon to indicate changes of days.
Yeah, 35 days past the high sun. They also mentioned that every 45 years a brilliant comet visits Athas. By night, one can read by the messenger's light. and it can be seen clearly in the full light of day. Folklore holds the messenger visits the dragon every 45 years to deliver him important information. Reconnaissance the stars have observed since its last visit. They also mentioned that the next messenger will be 6 years away.
Yep, because the campaign, it gives you a specific date, if you will. Here we go, more dehydration mechanics.
Substituting other liquids. Many common beverages such as wine, beer, ale, and fruit juices can supplement a character's water intake. The quantities per day remain the same. At times of desperation, more outlandish liquids can be used, like the blood of fallen monsters.
Yep.
Generally, these are not none of those are suitable substitutes, which I just think, come the fuck on.
There we go. Quantities per day. Yep.
Drinking animal blood is known to be an emergency way to not die if you're stuck in like a dehydration situation. Same thing with like drinking fish eyeballs. You can do this. Don't try it at home, kids.
Yeah, and sap is also a decent emergency as long as you make sure that the sap's not naturally poisonous to you.
Yeah. Like certain saps will be fine. Dehydration will cause constitution losses as well.
Yep. So if you it's based on how much water you, because you have a requirement. If you meet the full requirement, no damage. If you get only half ration, 1d4. Less than half, 1d6. And it's cumulative.
I also want to note that half giants are the worst things to have around in your party, because not only will they randomly switch alignment at the drop of a hat, but they take all the goddamn water.
Who would have thought the biggest thing in the room? Who would have thought the thing that was at least it's probably twice as big as you and
Yep,
5
they need
times
4
your
gallons
mass
rather than 2. No, rather than your 1 or whatever it is.
Also, 3 cream proved to be superior in that they only need a gallon of water a week.
Yeah. Again, that's why they can't get armor. They're able to live on this planet pretty easily.
Technically, I was thinking of it. Technically, wouldn't that means that they're economical compared to probably like 5 other guys, but still, like
yeah,
guys that could do that kind of work.
Hunting.
I mean, again, it's not the worst choice to play them.
Yeah, I mean, each of the races they give, like, there are drawbacks, but it's not like completely you're fucked if you pick it or you're fucked if you don't.
Except for half giants, possibly.
No, because half giants can work pretty well with whatever society you're dealing with.
Yep, and then they
And
go
they're
into
really
people always need someone to just crush something.
Yep. They then go into like all the terrain modifiers for this sort of stuff.
Yeah, here we go. There's
vehicles,
transporting water, overland movement.
And then they go into spells. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, they go into animal care too. If you really want to know how to maintain your kank or your inix, here's how you do it.
And then it's only a few more pages once you get through all the spells.
The real question, does that also apply to animal husbandry?
They actually go a little bit into that, yeah. Not here, but it was earlier in the book, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's a skill that exists.
Fool's gold. Copper coins are seldom minted on Athas. However, copper is still the medium of this spell, so it could be turned into solid gold. So you can still use fool's gold if you want.
Yeah. I think the one that's actually kind of interesting is that plant growth has no effect on a tree of life, which, okay.
And it also doesn't work if a defiled area you're trying to do this in.
Yeah. They mention wall of ice just disappears after a while, which, okay.
Yeah, it just disappears.
Also, transmute water to dust does not have a reverse.
Yeah, like, why would you do that?
I guess that's the spell that you take for your Sorcerer King if you just want them to be complete asshole.
I'm just envisioning him doing it too. Like, he has a town under his jurisdiction. He's just like, you have not paid taxes. I swear I'll pay. I swear I'll pay. And he turns the well into just dust. That's what you get, motherfucker.
Yeah. Call Woodland Beings is not an available spell, by the way.
Oh, no.
They do mention that create Tree of Life is a spell.
You have to have a sapling to work with it, though.
Yeah. And then that's the end of that. And then there's the
And
Wanderer's
then there's
Journal,
the
which is
cleric stuff. And hey, we're at the Wanderer's Journal. Before we get into
this
that,
cover. This fucking cover.
first we get into that. You got a mule with a... I forget what that weapon is.
The Orcish double axe or
I
whatever.
think it's an Orcish double axe. He has a fucking katana.
A katana with a basket hilt.
Yeah. Again, very Frank Frazetta style art.
And then there's Poison from Street Fighter.
Yeah. I think that's the stupid bone things too.
Yeah,
You also have
Okay.
you also have an Aborigine hiding in the background.
He's like, okay, I have gone to the wrong dream time, my friend.
I've gone to the wrong jeans. I don't know who this asshole is. This dead
Also, I'm just gonna
cockroach
say
motherfucker.
the dead thing he's standing over, it kind of looks like the fucking chist. No, not the chist. Like those weird eldritch thingies in later Star Wars lore. I don't know. That's what it looks like to me with the weird purple skin and bone armor.
Oh, you're talking about the... Oh my god, my brain is farting right now.
The Yuzak Vong?
Yuzon
Yeah,
Vong.
that's
Yes, the Vong.
They're named after a fucking tea, by the way.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's see how chat's doing with this glorious AD&D adventure.
Adventure.
Did you like the spontaneous chaotic evil? Dismiss. I don't want to update Firefox, butthole. You also hear lamentations of the women. Sometimes changing alignment out of survival desperation is actually interesting. Yeah.
It
Conan,
is, but
Dune, medieval Mad Max. Yeah. But what were you gonna say?
I was about to comment like it's an interesting concept. I just think that because it's AD&D, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it might only literally cost an arm and leg and your blood. Reading Wizard of the Coast disclaimer at the bottom. Yeah, they make disclaimers on all their old books because, you know.
They can't just look through all of them and be like, well, because let's be fair here. Sometimes they did do some stuff which could be considered incredibly really dumb.
Yeah, but that's not why they're doing it, and you know it.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised they're selling old D&D. It still sells.
Why
to
wouldn't
some degree.
you? Like, yeah, like the old school Renaissance people will just like eat it all up and
Character
all that.
death is common and replace them. Yeah. This book actually advocates making 50 bards named Dave.
They also mention, I think, for something like this, is that it's like it's a book that's you're either gonna like the setting or you're just never gonna play it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is you have to be in a certain mood or mindset, in my opinion. Like, if you want to play kind of your sort, or like your dark, kind of low fantasy sort of setting in a way, where things are marginal, this is what this is what you touch. If you like playing casters, this is not your game, buddy.
Unless you like psionics, in which case this is your game.
And psionics are fine, they just burn out really quick. So the Wanderer's Journal actually goes into the lore itself.
Yeah, and it's dense. Buy it to read it, I guess.
A little bit. We'll read a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find a desert, sun-scorched and wind-scoured, parched and endless. From the first moments of dawn till the last of dusk, the crimson sun shimmers, an olive-tinged sky like a puddle of blood. It climbs towards the zenith, and the temperature rises relentlessly. 100 degrees by mid-morning, 110 by noon, 130, sometimes even 150 by late afternoon. It's Arrakis. It's Arrakis in a nutshell.
It's fucking Arrakis, yeah. They go into, I mean, check out the page 26 of the Wanderer's Journal. I love this illustration.
Is it the bugs?
It's the bugs.
Okay. You like how they have a little necklace and two?
Yeah.
Essentially, Arrakis is either great seas of sand that used to be their dead ocean bottoms, or rock badlands and highlands that used to be, well, their continents.
Yeah.
And the flatlands, which are your rocky areas, are where you usually find the few oases left. Actually, yeah, I can read this bit a bit. Surrounding the dry sea is a band of tablelands, ranging from as much as 400 miles wide to as little as 50. They consist of many terrains: golden dunes, stony barrens, dust sinks, salt flats, badlands, and plains of yellow-green scrub. This is where civilization, if you can call it that, still lingers. Yeah, it's not pretty. You're basically the coastline of North Africa right before the Sahara.
Welcome to
Yeah.
hell.
They also go a lot into like the societies of everything.
Yep, Athasian culture. Because there's a variety of cultures. There's the cities that are surrounded by their crops, and they're each ruled by a sorcerer king. They live in their fortress. There's a big hierarchy that supports them, and there's also villages that are, in the Wanderer's own words, no more than brick shelters. It's either the big cities or your little villages, and they're not permanent. There's Silk Road style networks, and then there's the hunter and gathering clans that live on the fringes. Goes into clerical magic, which we've already covered.
We've kind of got. We're on about. We're coming in on 2 hours here, so.
I know. Here we go. The history a little bit. I can summarize this somewhat. Basically, Athas is
No one
shit.
knows. If you want to really sum up, Athas is shit, and we don't really know how it got this way.
Oh, I know
It's just
how.
shit.
What happened was there were these 9 sorcerer kings. The original 9 sorcerer kings were ambitious wizards who found a way to tap into the... Because there were prior ages. There was the Blue Age, which is where the halflings dominated, and then there was the Green Age, if I remember right, which is when Athas was actually fairly nice. Then the Sorcerer Kings and Defilers realized that they can use the actual energy of the planet itself to power their magic, and, well, it all went down the fucking hill fast, because, you get a bunch of Defilers eating up all the fucking life energy in the area.
So it was basically this.
Wizards did it. Literally, a bunch of wizards did it.
Wizards did it.
And, actually, the Sorcerer Kings are called that because, well... one of the things about magic, I've mentioned it mutates you. I'll spoil it. There are no dragons on Athas, but those that have delved so deep into Defiler magic that they've transcended to that form. Dragons are humans that have gone full Defiler mode.
AKA, it's more gone off some old Norse mythology with stuff like Fafnir.
Basically, they are Fafnir. They sacrifice their humanity for all of that power. And there's I think only like 1 or 2 of them around. The Sorcerer Kings can be killed. In fact, actually, at the time of the setting, 4 of them have been. Which is both good and bad, because each one that dies, that's a bunch of Defilers they can't train anymore. Which means you can kind of keep civilization going a little longer, but they're the only things holding these cities together.
Yep.
So, you're kind of in a catch-22.
Also, where one falls, another gains.
And that does happen. There are new Sorcerer Kings when each of the old established die. I think at the moment there's only 4 of them, of the original 9 that did this shit. And the most powerful of which is the Sorcerer King of Tyre, who is also known as I think he's known as the Dragon, because he's like the only one that actually became a full-on fucking dragon.
Or at least admitted to it.
Yeah. And the thing is, those cities aren't the only cities. There's been a lot of attempts to build other cities and reclaim nature. In fact, actually, that's what dwarves often do. It just doesn't go well.
Because the Sorcerer Kings, yeah.
It's not killed by the Sorcerer Kings. It's just bandits, dry green monsters.
The planet is hostile to life at this point.
Oh, yeah. To give you an idea, there's Githyanki, I believe, on Athas.
Oh.
Here's what happened. They were stranded there.
Oh, God.
They are the survivors of, like, a Spelljammer crash.
Oh my!
And they
Oh, yeah, you can
horrified
bring
and desperate to get off this planet.
Oh my God! It's time for the Freeman. Here we go. The jihad awaits, my Fediakin.
Here's a bit more art. They go into society. Baroness, we've already kind of covered that. Metal is extremely rare. It's kind of like your Celtic Brit. You know how Britain was very metal poor originally, so they usually did spears. Same kind of thing.
Yep.
They didn't use coinage unless it was ceramic pieces. They go into magic and how it eats the entire fucking planet. By the way, if you're wondering what preservers turn into, because they do mutate, they turn into giant fucking manta rays.
That's actually rad. I'm
I
not
know.
gonna
Yeah.
lie.
So, and I think that's one of the events that takes out one of the Sorcerer Kings is a powerful preserver goes full manta ray to slay him as like a dragon or something like that.
Hello, yes, I am the manta ray of good vibes.
Holy shit, that's a dragon newt. On page
Yeah.
111, on page 11 of the guide, like I'm showing you,
Yeah,
that's a dragon newt from fucking. That's a dragon newt from RuneQuest.
Here we go.
Ah, God.
where?
I've never. On page 11, which is 111 in here, that's a dragon newt. That is literally the design for a dragon newt from Glorantha. They are failed dragons in their setting. I don't know what to think about that. That's amazing. So the worst scourges, as bad as they are, defilers are not the worst of them. Compared to the dragon, even sorcerer kings are babes. There's one guy that managed to become a dragon, and he's basically a living cancer.
Yep.
As for the city-states, they have their own laws. They're each led by a king. They're almost always a sorcerer king. Not always, but almost always. Go into the
They go
Templar
into,
Society, how the nobility work.
They go to the merchants. I love this dude with just like clutching that sword. Like, okay,
Yeah, he's like he's like suspicious and doubtful. Yeah, that'll be 18 copper. That'll be 18 ceramics. Why, you're not gonna give me the ceramics?
it's a sword made out
It's
of
a good sword.
ceramics.
It's a good
The
sword.
sword is made out of ceramics. Yeah, that's how you know it's good. Made of money.
Give me the money, Sonny.
I do love the caravan stuff because it's like
Yeah, they go into details about that. There's trade routes. They actually explain that.
they go through how the herdsmen work.
Yep. Merchants, by the way, are one of the only people that aren't harassed because they kind of keep trade and money flow alive.
Yeah.
Slaves, they explain how slaves work. You're either born a slave, captured in war, or by being sold. Debt slavery is pretty common.
Yep.
And actually, some of the city-states have their own janissary system. They slave
they do.
soldiers.
Yeah, and then they go into after the section of that they go into the geography.
Is the defiler again? Yeah, races in the city. They go into the details about them from the point of view of where they are: the villages, client villages, slave villages. They go into details about like different races of villages too.
Yeah. Like how a dwarf village is going to be different than a halfling village.
Yep.
Also, dwarves do not like wizards. No wizards allowed.
Also, dwarves have the leader of most dwarven villages is the one who's the most autistic. Literally, they're the most stubborn and devoted to the idea.
The absolute fucking
So what you're saying is like Chris Chan is like the god emperor of the dwarves.
The difference is Chris has to have the willpower to commit to the focus.
He doesn't.
Dwarven culture is very family driven as well. Despite their massive autism, they actually are very aware of that you're supposed to treat family like family. And it's right. And another thing about dwarves, they follow their code of honor so autistically. It's a good idea to ask about that before you show up.
yeah, because otherwise you will have a bunch of autistic crazy people after you.
Yeah, literal blood feud. They will hunt you till the end of the earth to fucking kill you.
Imagine Gamergate on an actual. This is actually dangerous, though. Gamergate, but dangerous.
Yeah, dwarves aren't ones to fuck with. As for halflings, they're literal communes, like communists.
Together, halfling strong.
Yeah. The village is the chief's home and center of government. So literally, the chief just
And I think their chief just like swaps around depending.
yeah.
They're literally anarcho-communists.
The best part is they actually build a giant house and they all live in it. Don't you love it?
That's great, actually. That's kind of cool. Like,
see, this is why I really like this setting. They take your Tolkien stuff and they just say, "Fuck it, let's go weird."
let's go weird. Let's have the elves all be crazy nomadic sex perverts. Let's do it.
I don't know. Is that better or worse than making them all plant people that get so angry when you chop down their trees they'll actually create nymphs just to seduce men and then have them get ripped apart by the plants parasites they implant in them?
I mean, that's one way to handle it. I kind of like the Llanowar elves, where it's like every branch broken is a bone, and they'll fuck you up that way.
Oh yeah, the Dwarf Fortress elves are like that too.
Yeah.
You can
Llanowar elves
negotiate
is,
with them for a certain amount of trees felled per year.
Yeah, Llanowar. The Llanowar elves are actually from a Magic the Gathering card. It's actually kind of like a little neat flavor text thing from them. I like it.
I also like, well, they're not quite the same. The Mostali, aka the Dwarves of Glorantha. I know we're a little off topic, but that's okay.
It's okay. We're
they
off
are
topic
made
a lot.
of rock, and they worship they don't see him as dead. They worship the world machine, which they call Mostal. The organized world machine that has been broken. Which is why humans, particularly Orlanthi, like to say their god is dead. Because they worship a broken machine. And their goal is to try to schedule and arrange all of society to fix this world machine. And they prefer it if it's ahead of schedule. And if you defy the schedule, that's when they'll use the weapons they design that are far more advanced than you, since they have access to iron and gunpowder, to destroy you with tercios. One of the ways you can die in King of Dragon Pass is you piss off the dwarves. They will literally send cannons, musketeers, and fucking mortar shells into your shitty Dark Age Viking hut village.
Why not?
And then they'll process your corpses into their fucking canned processed chicken meat. Because they eat from cans. Sorry, I really like RuneQuest. Anyway, it's like merchant houses.
I was actually just gonna ask. I just realized something since you were talking about dwarves. Dwarves and cans. Wouldn't that make dwarves like really, really annoying to have in a survival situation?
In RuneQuest? Well, if it's in RuneQuest, they have can openers. Also, no human would willingly take what a dwarf eats.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. There was a sound
feedback
thing.
reverb thing.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway.
I'm so sorry, chat. I don't know what's up with my headset right now.
By the way, the best thing about Three Kreen, as I'm looking through this, is that the only intelligent things they usually hunt are just elves.
By the way, do you like the? Here's the caravans. I'm a little bit behind. Merchant code.
Yeah.
They go into details about that.
They go into the elven merchants, which okay.
I mean, because being a bandit, well, you got to sell your loot.
Yeah. I do like the little bit that they've got about all of the herding tribes and the stuff about the druids, but I think that the thing that's kind of the most interesting is it's further in. I've just kind of been reading ahead. They go into the city.
Yep. Elf tribes. Hunter Gathering. This is for if you want to play UG.
UG and Grug.
Psionic Masters. Oh, I love this art here with the ruined tower. Druids. The Sea of Silt.
Yeah.
Yep. This is basically a dust and silt shithole. Used to be an ocean, but that's gone.
They also talk about how to travel, which I think is kind of like, oh.
Yeah, you can fly, you can wade. You can levitate.
I kind of like that. Just T-pose across the environment like it's frickin' Morrowind.
And then you just hear the villagers beneath in their mud huts going, "This one's been tainted by the witch breed," and they start throwing like spears at you.
Yeah,
Geography: there's your mud flats, your estuaries, because there are still a few rivers. Not a
a
lot.
few.
Most of them dust claw. Oh, here's what the mud flats. This is what the Sea of Silt looks like when you try to wade across. Look at that.
Pretty sure that's a half giant.
Yeah,
He's
it's
not
not
having a good
recommended.
time.
On top of that, wading through the Sea of Silt's pretty stupid because
There's
predatory flying creatures call the seas
mud
their home.
fiends,
Yeah.
giants, and silt horrors, which are giant. Basically, it's the Sarlacc.
There's a bunch of ruins. Here you go. There's the fabled city of Plenty, which is probably a myth.
Yep. Good luck.
Flying critters, that's common. Giants, mud fiends, silt horrors. Giant
Again,
fucking tentacles. Have fun.
it's literally a Sarlacc. That's what it is.
Then there's the Tablelands, which is the flat terrain. This is where civilization used to flourish, and it's still there. It's like living on the coastline of North Africa. I like how they have to explain you can walk. You don't wade, you walk. This is just like, if you really want to go into the biology, it tells you for like in this area, in the Stony Barrens, there are cacti that you can get water from. There's the sandy wastes, and here's the different types of dunes. They actually go into details about dune formation, which,
Autistic as fuck.
but interesting. So let's go through vaguely. They also go into ruins because the Tablelands are filled with them because there were, ancient cities that were built and those that have been removed. And they go into encounters. Here we go. The cities. These go into detail about each of the cities because besides Tyr, there's Uruk, Gulk, Balik, Ram, Nibene, and Draj.
I love this description of Ram. It's incredibly chaotic. Templars barely ever show up in the streets because the nobles are assassinating all of them.
Yeah.
And the situation is so bad that elves are commonly accepted in the ranks of high society as if they were upstanding citizens.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's see.
God bless
Is
you.
this much further ahead? Because I might.
Did
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm sorry.
Disgusting.
I am
I know
so
that
sorry.
I'm scrolling through, but
It's long and we've been here for a while. I'm sorry. It's just I really love this. I really love this book.
it is a
Yeah,
good
Dark-
book. And
I think Dark Sun is probably my second favorite D&D setting.
Is your first Ravenloft?
Nope, Spelljammer.
I don't blame you.
Yes.
That also was created in AD&D.
and then they get into the stat blocks for everything.
Yep,
After
these are just the cities. If you're wondering, they give you details about them if you want to really go into details. So this is actually the version I have. It kind of combines two books together, and it's really nice.
it actually combines 3.
Oh yeah, 3 because there's more. There's maps and stuff.
There's a Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yep, here's some more islands and places where you can go. I love this goblin dude who looks like he's ringing a bell. The monsters of Athas. Oh my god, is that what I think it is? Is that one of those assholes from I forget the name of them. They're from Myth. Gorams or something. It's basically these like long-mouthed, long-armed motherfuckers that constantly ward with the dwarves. Is this where Myth of the Fallen Lords got the idea from? Oh, that's nice. Here's some stuff for those of you who want to see the monster manual. The Braxat looks like a rhinoceros covered in cancer. Here's the Dragon of Tyre. Good luck fighting this asshole. Dune freaks. Look at the Cthulhu-looking motherfucker, the Godge. It looks like something that crawled out of the Cambrian explosion. I love it.
Yeah, it does.
That's what an Athasian giant looks like. Don't you like how they just look like lumps of muscle? There's the Gith. The Josel. Look at this dopey thing.
There's actually a picture of it earlier holding a spear and running, and it looks just like the happiest of like, I got a spear!
I found it.
I found this.
That silkworm looks amazing. I have secrets to tell you as he's binding a dead corpse.
Found in quotations.
Tembo looks like a mean boy.
The Tembo looks just like one of those smashed and squashed like pit dogs or whatever, where they're like the horribly
Yeah.
mutated pit bull things.
I don't know why he has earrings though.
And there's even more. There's the Dungeon Master's book, but we've been here for a good while, and
Yeah, it's mostly flip cards. There's some stuff like with art at the end where
yeah,
they
there's some
also
art and flip cards, but I think this is a good stopping point for Dark Sun. So, what do you guys think? Since this is kind of more my GM,
I really enjoy it.
I think it's a good setting, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be. This is gonna sound weird, but I actually kind of like this. Hilariously, for an AD&D, I kind of like the crunch a bit more than the fluff. I don't think the fluff's bad, but I enjoyed going through like all that part, because I was just thinking of all the possibilities and stuff to do with it. I say this: Dark Sun's got a lot of potential, which I think is a very important thing for any TPRPG.
it does introduce a variety of interesting crunch mechanics. This is one of the cases where they show you how to mix and match armor. That's not done often. And on top of that, if you really kind of like that dying world fantasy, this is it in spades. And hey, it even shows you what to do in times of desperation, and it gives you a lot of ideas if you want to do like evil sorcerer god king sort of things.
Yeah.
This is easily one of my favorite settings from Dungeons and Dragons. And it's one of the few that I very happily enjoy reading about. I usually ignore settings in Metaplot, but this is one of the ones I really enjoy. Other ones I really enjoy are primarily Birthright, and to a lesser degree Ravenloft, because there's just something fun about horror.
Also, the end of this is what this cost back in the day, which was $20,
Which is pretty darn good for what you get
but you
out of
have to
it,
have the complete Psionics handbook.
which is a bit gnarly.
Yeah, they also more powerful PCs. All Dark Sun game characters begin at 3rd level. Ability scores can go high as 24. New character tree, and they also give you 3 more classes, which okay. But I mean, of the things that got out of this, I'd say that the 3 Kreen are obviously one of the things that stuck around in the setting for a long time. People really liked them.
3 Kreen are really popular. They were done very well in this. Make them very interesting. It was popular enough to try to repackage in 4th edition, and it actually stuck around there for a little bit.
Yeah, it's in a weird position to me, honestly.
It's because not all adventures can be done well in Dark Sun.
It's kind of hard to have a traditional heroic fantasy in a setting like this.
But if you're in the mood for, it's not really low magic. Nothing really ever is in D&D.
It's cursed magic. It's not. This is still very high magic.
Yeah, it's cursed magic though.
Well, if you're not cunning divine.
Let's see. How does everyone else also take in this? Talk about Boris. Yeah. Yeah. Athas was green and good until the crystal cracked. Sorry, until the Sorcerer Kings got greedy. That's pretty much spot on.
Basically, magically induced climate change. Jeff Bezos decided to become God and fucked everything.
So
He's already-
real life.
He's
Yeah.
already doing the latter. He's already doing the latter part.
turn into manta rays with little to no water. That's just kind of what they look like. It's more of an angel thing. Yeah. Sword is
Or-
made of ceramic. You get what you pay for. I actually think that'd still be better than a wooden sword.
At least if it broke, it'd be sharp.
Think this would be a basis for a Kenshi hack?
Yes.
Definitely,
out, yes.
100%, 100%.
Dwarves aren't necessarily autistic. They're extremely hyper-focused. Yeah, I explain it, but
We
it's
know,
just
but-
it's autism.
Also, 3 Kreen are addicted to elf flesh.
Gloranthan
much
dwarves
better
sound
can
like
they
they'd
get?
be friends with Chaos dwarves. No, they go against
No.
the God Machine's plan. They actually, dwarves fucking hate Chaos in RuneQuest. They
He got the-
fucking hate Chaos.
Holtz also figured out what the monster you were looking out for was. If you scroll down.
Like a ghoul.
Yeah.
Goals from Myth. Yeah, I love. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. Sea of Silt is neat. You have, yeah. The Forgotten Beast Jozal has come. I can see that. Yeah, that Jozal kind of does look like a Forgotten Beast if you kind of drew it. But yeah, what are you guys gonna rate Dark Sun's setting campaign and mechanics
Good.
if you want to include that too?
Good. It's good.
I'd say mechanics are playable because it is a D&D. It's a bit of a wonky mess. It's still playable. Setting is good. Like, again, I would play this.
Yeah.
Amazing setting, decent mechanics. Although it's almost good because it does. I really like the armor mix and match.
I would be a bit more fair and say saying it's good, but good for its time. Because
the
we can't
period
really
of
change
D&D.
because we're not rating AD&D. We're rating the book,
Yeah.
and so I'm
Point.
rating how its mechanics interact off of the system.
And it
Amazing book
does.
and good mechanics for the edition it was in.
Yeah, and I think if there's anything that I can say about this book is that it suffers from being split up. That's about all I can say.
It's only split up because, well, it's part of a box set. You were supposed to get all 3.
Yeah.
It's just, a bit of a negative. So anyway, up next, because while it was tied, I kind of do want to cover it. More time. Next week will be more time.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Sun is one of the best mechanically. It added, it did add a lot. It added a
Yeah.
lot of details mechanically. But yeah, up next, I think we'll do more time. And the Street Fighter will come out whenever I get around to splitting it in half and working on it.
We'll be entering the City of the Damned.
We could do Birthright, but we did a D&D book for the first time in a bajillion years, so we're going to
Yeah.
finally do a Warhammer Fantasy thing.
Which is a Warhammer in general.
Yeah. Except Age of Sigmar, but that's my personal opinion. They can do it.
And I understand that.
They can do it. You just won't see me on that episode. Don't worry, I'll still record it. I just assume that I'm in a coma when they cover Age of Sigmar.
That won't be for if that is at all, it will not be for a very long time.
We still have to get through the other 4 house books. We still have to get through Dark Arrows.
Yeah.
Also, I still have to. I still have to. That wound is still a little too fresh.
Yeah. Planescape whenever. Oh, that could be something.
Yeah,
I should
Planescape could be something.
I should probably kick the Diopsid awake for that one.
Yeah.
He'd enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if this is a setting he particularly likes. I do know that whenever we cover Planescape and Kingdoms of Kalimar, that I'll have to kick him awake for that one. It's just the Diopsid's life's been pretty busy.
It all happens. You know what it. We all know how it is.
Yep. So with that, let's end this before it becomes a gajillion hours long.
Yep. Actually,
And-
stick to our schedule this time.
Yeah. And again, next week is more time. So have a great night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.